Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're getting back into a hidden gem, Nezumi's First Love Volume 4. I did the first 3 volumes already, link in the description down below. I highly recommend you go watch those before coming to this one, because they are important to this, obviously. The reason why I call Nezumi's First Love a hidden gem is because out of all the romance manga out there that I personally read, I didn't really like, other than like My Dress Up Darling. Nezumi's First Love is more than just romance. There's multiple parts of the story that isn't just singled in on the main couple. There is an underlining story that we haven't really gotten into yet, but we get into it a little bit in here. So with that being said, like and subscribe, and let's get into Nezumi's First Love Volume 4. Chapter 26, The Future. Volume 4 starts off where we ended off in Volume 3. Nezumi is looking down at Ao, holding him in her arms in the middle of the rain. Ao's face is bloodied and bruised. "Where are your clothes?" Ao asks Nezumi. Nezumi tells Ao, "Don't try to talk, just take it easy." He responds with, "You can just go ahead. I can't seem to muster up the strength. Sorry." Nezumi then yells at him, telling him to hold on a bit longer, and that she is not leaving without him. We then see Masaya's dead body, and Ao says, "I'm sorry, Nezumi, must have taken a long trip." He then proceeds to say sorry over and over again, with blood dripping from his hands. "I'm probably better off dead," he says. Nezumi then looks past him to see the soccer ball that she had gotten from the tree a while ago, and tears start to well up in her eyes. Ao keeps saying sorry, but Nezumi interrupts him with grabbing a knife on the ground and putting it up to her neck with a wide smile and says, "If you're not coming home with me, then I'm not going either." I've said it before. Get you a girl like Nezumi, like ride or die. If you aren't going home, I'm not going home. We're staying here, even if we die. Lord, may I please find this love, please. I've been alone my whole life, but if I can be with you at the end." She then has a large, wide smile with tears running down her face. "Is it even okay for me to be this happy?" She then pushes the knife deeper into her neck, drawing out blood. Her wide smile is also gone, and their lips are close to touching. We then see different parts of the compound, showing all the bodies that Nezumi had gathered through her massacre. We then cut back to them, and their lips are even closer than before. Nezumi tells him, "We didn't have our Christmas date yet, or get to exchange presents." She then adds more things to this list that she wants to do with him. "I want to take pictures in a photo booth together, have a Valentine's Day date. I want to try riding double with you. I want to wear matching clothes. I want to touch you all over. I want to have a picnic, do karaoke together. I want to see you sing. I want to take a bath with you. I want to say I love you so many times. I want to have sex with you. I want to go to movies and eat popcorn together. I want to hear you say you love me. I want to eat all kinds of good food with you. I want to get cozy with you. I want to have nicknames with each other. I just want to be with you always, with just the two of us." The knife then goes deeper into her neck, and she asks, "What do I do, Ao? There's still so much I want to do with you." Her mouth then closes, and she then bursts out in tears, yelling, "I love you." Ao's eyes then open from her words, and she says, "I love you," again. And then their lips finally lock together for a second, and Ao lays back down. "What a shit show. Even I promised and everything. We'll be together," he says, as he takes the knife away from her neck. "No matter what happens, I'll be right by your side." Ayo, I have a question. Why are you being so dramatic? I understand. You're bruised, you're injured. I completely understand. Like, you're on the ground. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you. Oh, oh shoot, even I promised. Oh, that's what I wanted to hear, because like those words, they give me energy. But like, dog, I feel like all that was just so unnecessary. Like, you have her thinking that you're about to die. Like, you literally had her thinking that you're about to die. Like, come on. We now see Nezumi carrying Ao on her back to the entrance. And at the entrance, we see there is Tengu with a cleanup crew. Tengu tells the cleaning crew to get the cleaning. He then tells Nezumi Ao will die if he doesn't hurry. We then cut to them inside of a car. "I don't remember training you to take on opponents head on, Nezumi," Tengu says. He then asks if she's hurt, but Ao says she's asleep. Then Tengu's eyes widen, and we end off the chapter with both of them holding hands in the back of the car. Beautiful. Stop being dramatic, Ao. Chapter 27. Wounds. The chapter starts off with Ao getting dropped off back at home after the hospital, and Nezumi greets him at the entrance, and they both say howdy to each other. We then cut to them back inside of their home, and a guy named Asagi sits across to them in the living room, telling them what they had to do and had to go over for Ao's injuries. He also says that Ao will not be able to work for a while because of his injuries. He then switches the topic to Nezumi, saying, either way, you certainly made a big splash this time around, so you'll need to lay low for a while. He then proceeds to smirk and tease them, saying, plenty of cuddle time for the happy couple. We then see that Nezumi looks down, blushing, while Ao seems a little embarrassed and annoyed. Asagi then gets up and leaves and tells Ao to change his bandages every single day. Nezumi says thanks, and then we see Asagi look at their keychains on the door, smiling. But then the smile quickly fades away and he slams the door, leaving. We now see that Nezumi is outside telling Ao that she has a towel for him, and she asks if the water is feeling okay. He then tells her that the water is fine, but the main issue is with the crutches. He's never had to use crutches before, so he ends up getting sore in weird places. And he also fears that he'll get stuck in some random crack. He then reaches for the water faucet and then hears rattling behind him. He looks up at the mirror to see that Nezumi is butt-ass naked behind him. Ao, do me a favor. Don't mess this up, please. Nezumi then enters the shower and crouches down to see Ao's scarred back. It must be hard for you to bathe, right? So let me help you, Nezumi says. They're both clearly nervous, and Nezumi asks where does he normally start. He tells her from his shoulders, and he just works his way down. Nezumi then reaches for the soap and covers her hand, placing it on his shoulder, and works her way around his arm, and then going to his chest. You're getting goosebumps, Nezumi says. Ao replies with, it's just ticklish. A little. Yeah, sure, it's a little ticklish. I wonder why. Nezumi has then made her way to his thighs and tells him to relax a little. We then see her rinsing off his back, making sure he feels all right, and then turns off the water and says, we can get out now. But then Ao asks, what about you though? Don't you want to wash up too? Nezumi is then caught in surprise with the question and was about to say no, but she thinks for a bit and holds her hand up to her chest where the towel is and says, actually, you will do it for me. End of chapter 27. Chapter 28. Wounds Part 2. The chapter starts off right after the events of chapter 27. Ao is wiping down Nezumi and asks if she's okay. She responds with, it just feels a little ticklish. Ao then has a wide, smug smile agreeing with her. Ao then continues to get her arms, her neck, and her ears, and eventually makes his way to her stomach. And then Nezumi gets a little too excited and lets out a moan. Relax. I'm not trying to get demonetized. You're getting way too into this. They both then pause for a second with Nezumi covering her mouth. Ao backs off a bit and Nezumi grabs for the shower rod and tells Ao she's good now. But Ao then comes back and seizes the moment. Nezumi asks, like, what are you doing? Ao, the alpha himself, says there's still soap left. Nezumi then melts into his touch and Ao tells her to move her arms. She hesitates for a minute, and Ao tells her again, your arm. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the eagle has indeed landed. It's censored, but boom! He has his hand on the goal. And me personally, I cannot be more proud of this dude. I saw in the beginning of the first volume when he was so nervous to talk to her, and then he just poured out his heart to her. And now, fast forward, sometime later, he's in there. We now cut to them in the living room, and Nezumi is drying off Ao's hair. Ao says he's sorry for what happened in the shower, and Nezumi responds with saying, no, I'm sorry. She also tells him that you got really wounded from earlier. She then comes across a scar on his neck, and she seems to be very intrigued with it because she stares at it very hard. Ao then snaps her out of her trance by clapping his hands in front of her face. He then asks, did I scare you? Nezumi seems a little annoyed and calls him a child. Ao then gets up and says, there's a full moon outside. And that reminds Nezumi about the phone bill, and she asks if he paid it. But he completely forgot. That ends off chapter 28. We then get a bit of a transition to something of like a book 2. I don't know what book 2 means. I don't know if that is just something completely separate. I don't know if that's leaving this story arc behind. I don't know. Please let me know. Chapter 29. whole. Chapter 29 starts off with a girl holding a gun to someone's head in the hospital. We then cut to her walking out. We then cut to a guy looking outside of a window to see two signs talking about a baseball player switching teams and something about a museum. But then his drink falls because Nezumi stabs him from behind. She then stands there where his body was, looking at the sign talking about the baseball player. We then cut to a TV broadcast talking about a baseball player, and a guy stands over a dead body. And this guy is none other than Ao. Ao then gets on his knees and takes his gloves off, praying for the dead guy. We now cut to both of them at the apartment, and we see that they finally have nicknames for each other. Nezumi goes by Mimi, Ao goes by Azzy. We see Nezumi and Ao toasting to each other, and Ao calls her cute. But Nezumi replies with, "Everything I do, you say, is cute." We then get a view of their apartment from outside, and then we see that Ao is washing dishes while they're both talking about the baseball player. Nezumi is looking at the calendar and realizes that their 1-year anniversary is coming up. Ao then comes up from behind and asks, "How many days?" Nezumi says 25. Ao then replies with, "That's all?" Making Nezumi blush, till someone rings on the doorbell. They both look over at the dark dining room, and Ao questions, "Why this late?" Nezumi says that she'll get it, so she goes up to the door and places her eye at the peephole, and what she sees is the barrel of a gun. End of chapter 29. Chapter 30. Love Hotel. Chapter 30 picks up right after the events of chapter 29. Nezumi quickly opens the door, grabs the gun, and then grabs the girl's neck and slams her into the wall. Good lord. The chapter just started. Relax. She then says figures, and then we get introduced to a new character named Midori. Long time Nezumi, Midori says. Midori then squeezes the hell out of Nezumi's face and says, "What's with the hair? You don't like it?" Nezumi then asks Midori if she's back for work, but before Midori can say anything, she notices that Nezumi's eyebrows are plucked. Nezumi also wonders how Midori knew where she lived, and apparently Tengu told her, and Midori also points out that Nezumi is wearing designer clothes. "What's going on with you?" Midori asks, and then Ao comes and says hi, and Midori is a little confused. Nezumi introduces the two and tells Midori, "Ao is my boyfriend." Midori says, "Wow, a guy. That explains it." She then tells him that she'll be on her way, and Nezumi really wants to know why she came. She tells her, "Just wanted to stop by after work." And she then tells Ao to take really good care of Nezumi. She then leaves in the elevator. Ao then asks Nezumi, who is she? Is she a friend? Nezumi says, "Well, Midori is..." And then we cut to a man smoking a cigarette in a hotel bedroom. We then see Midori come out in lingerie, and she goes by the alias Ryo. She gets in bed with the dude and looks at him, and he looks like a very serious man. Midori asks what they're going to do, and then the guy pins her down on the bed, saying, "We'll do whatever I want to do. You just shut up and lie there." Midori looks up at him and smiles and places her finger on his mouth. "Is that really what you want, though? Isn't sex more fun when you're not worrying about what other people think for once?" she says. She then asks, "Tell me what you really want to do to me." The man is confused and asks what she's talking about. "What is it you want? I'm sure there's something floating around in that head of yours." She then holds up a pillow and tells him to cover his face and tell her everything with a large, flattering smile. The man takes the pillow and puts it up to his face, and Midori asks one last time, "What do you really want to do to me?" He tells her as a gun is pointed at his head, "I want to be a baby." The gun then goes off in his face, killing him while Midori looks at her phone. She then places the gun down and then looks at her hand that she held the gun in, sniffs it, and says, "Yuck." End of chapter 30. That's a sad way to go out. That is such a sad way to go out. Imagine letting your feelings out and you say, "I want to be a baby." And that's your last words? Wow. That's probably the worst death in this whole manga so far. Chapter 31, the middle. The chapter starts off with the boss telling Nezumi, Ao, and Midori that a clan's boss doesn't have long to live. So the struggle to be the fourth head of the clan is bound to be fierce. So we need everyone on top of their game. The boss then puts a gun down on the table and says, "You'll be up against a whole group more often." So the element of surprise alone will not work. He makes it very clear that he was talking to Ao. Ao says sorry, but he says don't worry about it because there's no need to be sorry. Ao smiles and the boss gets to the jobs for today. Midori and Ao will be in a team together and the targets will of course be expecting Midori. He then apologizes to Midori because she just got back from a job, but she doesn't mind. He then states that Nezumi will have a different job and tells her, I know I'm always separating the two of you. Sorry about that. If you only could always be together. We then cut to the trio at the train station. Nezumi tells Ao to be okay while we see Midori listening in on them talking. She then grabs Ao's arm and tells Nezumi to not worry. He's with me and he'll be fine. Nezumi then grabs Midori's arm very tight to the point where you can see her veins popping out of her hand and tells her, watch out for my Ao please. Nezumi then lets her arm go and Midori teases her a little. Before they say their goodbyes, Nezumi tells Ao to be safe again while also almost calling him by his nickname. And then they head off. Ao tries to make a little conversation with Midori, but she's already on the other side of the train car looking down at her phone with a blank face. Later on, we cut to Ao and Midori in a field and Midori is teaching Ao how to use a gun. While she's teaching him, Ao is following along with a gun in his hand. This red thing is the safety. First, you flip it off. Next, you need to rack the slide, pull it, then let go, and now it's loaded. Release it right away, because if you release it slowly, there's a chance it could jam. Midori asks Ao if he's right or left-handed. Ao says he's right-handed, so Midori holds up a gun pointing towards Ao and tells him how to grip it. Hold it in your right hand high up on the grip. Put your left hand over the empty space, then firmly close it around the right. The less gap there is between the grip and your hand, the less chances of the recoil making you miss. When you take aim, focus on the sight, not your target. 23 meters is a handgun's lethal range. Anyone within that range, you can kill. Midori is now walking up to Ao, telling him the closer you get, the deadlier the shot will be. She gets close enough to have the gun at Ao's stomach and then points it at all of the vital areas. The brain, heart, liver, and genitals. Makes sense, Ao says, as he's clearly nervous. Midori is looking at Ao in his eyes, and the grip on the trigger tightens before she lets go and walks off. I don't trust this girl, by the way, at all. I think she's crazy. Especially with everything else that comes later. You'll see what I mean. We now cut to them at a building hiding behind some bushes. Midori then gets up and tells Ao to stay behind the bush. She gets to the door, rings the doorbell, and tells the man beyond the door her alias, and the chapter ends. I don't really know how to feel about Midori, I won't lie, because a part of me really likes her personality, I guess you could say, but another part of me feels like that she's deranged. I don't know how to put my finger on it. Is she jealous of Nezumi? Is she jealous of Ao? I'm just kind of confused. Chapter 32, 6/15, or for those math nerds out there, 0.4. The chapter starts off with us seeing Midori in a gas mask sitting on the bed with her feet on a guy's head. We then cut to Ao outside still with a cleaning crew now. Midori steps out and tells the cleaning crew that they can move in, and then she walks towards Ao smiling, all cutesy-like. Well, suits me, doesn't it? She asks. Ao agrees, but then the whole cute persona fades away and she says, duh. We're now back in the building and they head down to the basement for target practice. The basement is dark and we see the word help scratched onto the ground. Midori then guides Ao's arm, telling him to keep it a little bit bent so it absorbs the recoil and so it helps with moving targets. Use his thumb to point at them, and then she lets him have a go at shooting the gun. He gets ready to shoot it and it fires and he's obviously a little stunned and shaky. Is the next round already loaded, he asks Midori, but when he looks behind him, she's gone. Ao now sees that Midori is up top and she's lifting up the ladder that they used to get down there. He asks, what are you doing? She says, we don't want you to escape. Ao is a little confused. Escape? I'm not going anywhere, he says. About time you wake up, Midori says, completely ignoring what Ao said before. Ao then hears something and they turn on the lights to reveal 7 guys with knives tied to their hands, and one of them had been shot in the head. That man was the boss. Lucky shot. Don't worry, these are all bad guys who killed people for their insurance. But you only have 6 rounds left, so since there are 6 men down there, if you miss 1 shot, then you're never seeing Nezumi again, Mr. Boyfriend. The men then get up and are clearly mad and start to walk towards Ao while Midori talks. I've heard so much about you, Ao. Like that you stepped into this world so you can be with Nezumi. You're an idiot. You don't know a goddamn thing. I also heard Nezumi taught you how to kill. I'm sure she went super easy on you. What the hell was she thinking? Wasn't like that for the two of us. We now get to see a short flashback of Midori with a bloody face, and we also see a younger version of Tengu standing there with a stick stabbed through his arm. Bones in our face is broken every day, blood gushing everywhere. Always figured that we were about to die, like our bodies are just toys. That was how we learned. She laughs a little with her head in her knees and then looks at Ao. We don't need some teddy bear like you, and neither does Nezumi. She then closes the hatch to leave to have a cigarette, but then everyone hears a loud bang. She's jealous. I think she's just jealous. That might be the case here. Chapter 33, Egg, Daikon, Shirataki. Chapter 33 starts off with Ao killing 5 out of the 6 guys very fast. But the 6th guy has a gun and he's pointing directly at Ao. Midori then opens the hatch to tell Ao all knives would be unfair, so she gave him a gun and both of them have 1 shot left. She then closes the hatch back. Ao and a guy named Misori are looking at each other with both guns facing each other. Ao asks what Misori's name is, and then Ao tells Misori his name. How about you let me shoot you first? Ao says, what? But Misori then explains. You ambushed us in the dark, and it just seems fair. He then says he's done a lot of bad things, so maybe this is retribution or whatever. Plus, he has a girlfriend. So do I, Ao says. First things first, I just want to put it out there. Miss Sora is lucky that I'm not Ao, because I would have been shot. All this talking going on, I would have been shot him. Like,
please stop this madness.
don't put that in the video. Don't put that in the video. Misora then asks what she's like. Does she have large, monstrous breasts? Ao doesn't really know because he hasn't gotten a good look at Nezumi. We then find out within almost a year of them dating, they haven't done anything. Me and Misora call straight BS. And Ao says, I'm really not joking. We still haven't had sex. We're planning on having sex on our first anniversary. We've kissed and held hands. Misora then cuts him off and asks him, how old are you? Ao says that he's 22 and Misora says he's the same age. We then see that the cleaners are listening to everything that's going on down there. We then cut back to Misora saying, what is this? Some girl's manga? Ao replies with, look, I know it's weird, but Misora tells him, no, it's not. It's just true love. Some liquid then falls onto Ao's shoulder and onto the ground. Misora then tells him, after this, I've got plans to take my girl out to get udon. Ao's face then lights up and says, sounds good. But then they both grip on the trigger and Misora says, man, I am scared. We now see text messages between Misora and his girlfriend. His girl is showing him these Supreme headphone cases that she got. Misora then tells her that she's holding it weird. She says sorry and Misora shows a photo of cup ramen. It looks good, she says, and he asks if she wanted to eat dinner together. She then says that she's hungry and he says roger that. Later on she calls but he doesn't pick up the phone. He says sorry and they call for about a few minutes. He then sends a photo of the two of them calling it a special time and complaining about wanting to leave work. We then see a message sent from her telling him don't be late and sends a website link to a ramen spot. Do you think you can be here at 6? 6 hours later she says hello and the messages have no longer been read and will never be read because we see that Ao sadly killed Misori. That's a really sad chapter. Like, one, it's crazy on how Ao and Misora were able to bond so quickly. But then when it all comes down to it, it's life or death. It's either me or you. Again, I would have been killed the dude. Be smart about it. Like, you don't want to draw a connection to this guy just to kill him. Then you're gonna feel bad. Chapter 24. Meeting. Chapter 34 starts off with Nezumi hanging from an air conditioning vent and stabs the guy in the neck. Then we see big round eyes and Nezumi looks over at a bush. She sees nothing, so she heads back up, but a bit later we see the eyes are in the shadow of the bush. We now see Ao and Midori in the car with the cleaning crew. Ao is looking down at his hand and then Midori places her hand over his. Ao then looks over at her and she says, back there, you pray for those guys that you killed. "You're a strange one," she says, still holding his hand. We are now at a hospital, and Midori tells the men that they can go on because this is going to take a bit. She then tells Ao to come on because she wants to show him something. While walking into the hallway, Midori has a little conversation with a nurse, showing that she comes in here quite often. We then get to the room. They enter the room and Ao stands by the door while Midori goes by the bed. She noticed that there are flowers and she asks the person who came by. She then tells them that she brought someone with her. She looks past the curtain at Ao. We then see a large arm with a lot of tattoos and a tube coming out of it. Ao walks his way to the bed and then Midori opens up the window. A strong wind blows the curtain open, revealing that there is a large man bound in a hospital bed. Then we see that there is a photo of him and the boss at a spring. "This is Takenu Hasamona," she says, as she sits on the bed. And then Midori tells him, "This is me and Nezumi's father." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Nezumi's First Love Volume 4. Now, it could be because it took me a bit to read this volume, but in this volume, there wasn't as emotional weight as, well, okay, other than that one chapter, you know, with that dude and his girlfriend, that was sad. Probably because Volume 3 was so in your face and action packed with like a bunch of stuff happening at once. Just coming back to Nezumi's First Love at such a calm rate, I guess I should say, it feels kind of weird. And I felt kind of weird reading at least the first chapter. The next 2 chapters after that, I was quite uncomfortable. I was quite uncomfortable, but it's still nice, you know, to see that they still love each other even after everything that they went through over in Volume 3. Midori. I still don't know how to feel about Midori. I get she's a new character, so, and we're probably gonna see her more later on. I just can't really put my finger on it. Is she a good person? Is she a bad person? Does she like Ao? Does she not like Ao? Does she even like Nezumi? I don't know. And that whole thing with their father at the end, I was not expecting him to be their father at all. So that was definitely shocking to me. With that being said, the next volume comes out in September. I will get to that when I can. As you can tell, this series really isn't necessarily consistent with me, but that's just because I like doing a bunch of other things. So yeah, with that being said, hope you're having an amazing day. I'm having an awesome day. At the time I started recording this, which was like 2 days ago, actually, we were at 97 subscribers. And at the time of me recording this now, which is the next day, we are currently at 103. So there will be a video, a brief video of me talking about that as well, coming out before this video, because college is starting and this video is going to take a bit to, you know, get out. So with that being said, goodbye. Oh, wait, like and subscribe, and then goodbye.